Welcome, everyone, to Cool Food Meals, Strategies for Climate-Friendly Eating, and a special thanks to our bronze sponsor, Nestlé Professional, for this inspirational presentation. It's my pleasure to bring to the stage Gina Tohme and Edwina Hughes.
Thank you so much, Patricia, for giving Sweet Earth and WRI an opportunity to talk to the Menus Have Changed audience today. I'm Gina Tohme, and I lead our Future of Food business here at Nestlé Professional, at our out-of-home business, and I lead Nature's Heart, our plant-based snacking portfolio, as well as Sweet Earth, our plant-based meat alternative brand. And I'm here with my friend and colleague from WRI, Edwina. Hello, Edwina.
Hi, Gina. How are you? Great to see you.
Nice to see you too. We'll hear from Edwina in just a moment, and we'll also get to watch my colleague from Sweet Earth and Nestlé, Chef Logan, prepare a cool food recipe using Sweet Earth mindful chicken. But as we get a bit warmed up here, I have a question for all of those that are watching us right now in the audience. And I'm curious to know, just type your response in the chat there. Over the last year, particularly during the pandemic, would you say that climate change has become more important for your customers? Has it become less important for your customers, or equally important? So would love to see some responses here, and as we get things moving. But really what we've observed at Nestlé, and as Edwina will describe here in a moment, we're really at a time where more people than ever are actually looking for ways to reduce their carbon footprint. And Sweet Earth and WRI are really working together to make that choice even easier. So in fact, 67% of US consumers are concerned about the impact of food production on climate change. And that figure is actually even higher with women and with consumers that are under the age of 45. And of those concerned, 7 in 10 actually say it impacts their food purchases every single day. So I'll tell you just a little bit about the Sweet Earth brand. It's owned by Nestlé, and it's based in beautiful Moss Landing, California, lush green fields and the beautiful Pacific Ocean in the background. The brand has actually won several awards in innovative plant-based food, and we have more than 75 culinary-driven, sustainably minded products in our retail portfolio that's available places like Target and Kroger, but then we have a very rapidly growing portfolio and out of home that are available to many of those in the audience today. And we've really focused on winning over flexitarian flavor seekers, but also those that are more health conscious consumers. We have timeless appealing foods like our Awesome Burger, Mindful Chicken, and soon breaded chicken products, our breakfast sausage links and patties, bacon and cheese. And really what we do at Sweet Earth is we just encourage consumers to never stop tasting and setting expectations that compromising on flavor, really for us, it's not an option with plant-based food. So I know for myself, I'm really having an opportunity to go back into the office safely and see colleagues. And as many of us are getting back to a pre-pandemic way of life, we're seeing that quick service restaurants are really the second most popular source for plant-based options after grocery. And then we're seeing casual dining, we're seeing fine dining, and even cafeterias beginning to continue to grow in rank of plant-based dining options on the menu. And that's from our IFMA CPP 2020 report. And really, as more people in the US are transitioning back to that pre-COVID time, including in-person dining and cafeterias, really the importance of communicating the carbon impact to those consumers that are so intentional about those food choices is really becoming even more critical. And the opportunity that I'm excited about with our partnership with WRI and Cool Food is really it's transforming the way that you communicate that carbon impact to consumers in a really simple, consumer-friendly way. So I'm gonna let my friend and colleague, Edwina, tell you a little bit more about what is Cool Food, and how does this tool make it so easy to communicate carbon footprint on menus today? So Edwina, tell us a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Gina. So I'm Edwina Hughes, and I'm head of Cool Food and the Sustainable Diets team at the World Resources Institute. But to set the scene, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about our Shifting Diets work at WRI. So at WRI, what we recognize is that food and agriculture accounts for about 25% of total greenhouse gas emissions. So that's why we have a food team working on this. The Shifting Diets team is part of this. Shifting Diets, which focuses on consumer change, is a significant determinant of whether or not we can achieve a sustainable food future. And that's alongside a range of other kind of production side changes that we're probably very familiar with. So it was obvious that we should have a team working on sustainable diets particularly, and that was established about 5 years ago. And one of our projects, as Gina said, is the Cool Food Meals label. So it's a consumer-facing label for climate-friendly meals, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. So before I describe exactly what cool food meals are, I want to just highlight what I mean when I say shifting diets, So we know that different foods have different climate impacts, and our work is all about moving people away from those climate impactful foods towards the foods that are less climate impactful. And a Cool Food Meals badge, which is currently available in Panera, by the way, so you can pick up a Cool Food Meal today in Panera, online or in restaurant. That kind of badge basically signifies a meal that is better for the climate. But what does that mean exactly? Well, we used our scientific research to calculate what a climate-friendly diet would look like and how much carbon a person would produce through their food choices in a day. And we established that in the United States, a person would have kind of, if you think about it like carbon pocket money for their food, 18 kgs of CO2 for a day for your diet. So what we did is we split it between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we gave you a kind of an entitlement of 20% for your breakfast, 30% for your lunch, and 30% for your dinner, and then 20% over for snacks. And so what that gave you then is a threshold of 3.6 kgs of CO2 for a breakfast and 5.4 for a lunch or a dinner. And then what we did with Panera is we used the dish's ingredient list to calculate a meal's carbon footprint by analyzing the agricultural supply chain, so that life cycle analysis stuff, and also then the land use change that was necessary to produce the meal. And so by using that threshold, any meals then that fell below that threshold are entitled to a Cool Food Meal status. And we've analyzed the meal that Logan is preparing today against these criteria, and it's passed with flying colors because this meal has lots of climate-friendly ingredients in it. It's plant-based, so it doesn't have any of the high climate impact ingredients in there. It's got a low carbon footprint, and it certainly doesn't exceed the 5.4 kgs of CO2. In fact, it's got about half of that, about 2.65 kgs of CO2, and it certainly meets our nutritional guardrails as well, which we have in place to make sure that we are promoting food that's good for the climate, but also is good for your health. So I've now kind of explained what the Cool Food Meal is. I think the most exciting part of this is seeing what Logan is going to prepare. So it's a mindful chicken dish. And Logan, I wonder if I could pass over to you at this point, and just to tell everyone to spotlight Logan's screen by double clicking on his image so you can see exactly what he's doing.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Logan McCoy, Culinary Innovation Chef at Nestlé Professional. So today what we're going to do is we're going to showcase a Sweet Earth Mindful Chicken Cacciatore. So really flavorful dish. We're going to build up flavors, and we're going to really highlight plant-based in this application. So just a few comments first about the product itself. So this is the Mindful Chicken. What I love about this product is that it looks like animal protein. And really what we're looking for is that authentic texture, flavor, and appearance. And this delivers on all three. So this actually ships frozen in a 9-pound case. To use, just thaw the case. You can take the bag out, put it right onto a sheet pan, let it thaw overnight, and then you have 7 days from thaw. The other thing that I really like about this too is that for salads, it's perfect for cold applications. So not only hot applications, but cold as well. Things like chicken salad, lettuce wraps, things like that. So that's the Mindful Chicken. Today we're gonna get into the Mindful Chicken Cacciatore. So what we're really gonna try to accomplish today is really just showcasing how plant-based can be the center plate, and how do we take inspirations from recipes that are familiar to you and things that you've seen or tasted before, and then introduce plant-based into that. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna turn my pan on. This right there. So first we're gonna start by getting some color on the mindful chicken. Now what I like about this, the product, is that when you get it in a hot pan, you still get that nice caramelized color that you would if you were searing chicken breasts or chicken thighs. This replicates that perfectly. So I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to the pan. And some other menu concepts too. I love this in comfort food ideas. So chicken pot pie is really good. I love it in things like chicken and dumpling soup or chicken and pasta soup. And then ethnic too, right? Tacos. It's great with tacos, chicken piccata, and other applications very similar.
Hey, Chef, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So while you're doing a really simple cooking method there, just some oil in a pan and adding some nice color to it, it is a ready-to-eat product. So to your point, like you don't even have to really heat it. But if you do choose that, if that's the direction that you want to provide on the menu, or that's the dish, can you tell me maybe a couple of other ways that you could cook the chicken? Like, can you braise it? Can you deep fry it? I know I like deep fried things. Can you tell us a little bit more about how else you could prepare it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, we did an application not too long ago where we deep fried the mindful chicken and really got that really nice crispy texture on the outside, and it was still really nice and moist on the inside. And then we tossed it in a Szechuan sauce, garnished it in a bowl with some rice and some vegetables. The other thing too, braising, right? So technically Cacciatore is very similar to a stew, right? So we're gonna really showcase that today. And what I like about it too is that it takes on the flavors of the stew as you cook it. Things like tikka masala or Indian curries, you know, things that have really deep flavor. You know, the product takes on those flavors really well. So other applications too, I like grilling them. I think skewers are very perfect, especially for this time of year. Get like a marinade that you really like and stack the chicken on a skewer, kind of brush your marinade over the chicken and throw it on the grill, and it's delicious.
Just listening to these descriptions, Logan. One of the things I was just thinking about, because when I started working in this area, you know, the danger is people imagine that if you're going to eat vegetarian, it's going to be kind of bland, or it's just not going to have a lot of flavor. So how do you kind of get around that? I think I've heard you describe a couple of ways, but I'd love to hear a couple more.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I think one of the big things, and I know that I've already touched, you know, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but building flavors. Now, we are going to build flavors through vegetables, and we're going to build it through cooking our vegetables and adding in other aromatics and wine and tomato. But, you know, when you start thinking about things like tacos, right, you know, you really want those toasted spices. So I like toasting spices and cooking the chicken and spices. I like them in marinades. So what I'm doing right now is I just added in the chicken, added in my onions and my peppers, and we're just gonna let the chicken kind of absorb all those flavors. And I also like the mindful chicken too. You know, we talk about menu day parts too, and how to utilize menu items across the menus. You know, and I love this application, especially in things like frittatas or, you know, something like really nice and hearty for breakfast.
Edwina, I have a question for you. As you've been working with different operators and customers in the food service industry, what are some ways that you help bring to life how plant-based can really be appealing on menus? Because to your point, there are still some biases and perceptions about plant-based, maybe not being bland, maybe being bland. So yeah, what are some advice that you might have?
Well, some of the early work we did on behavioral science and kind of how you nudge people to eat more plant-based was looking at language particularly. And we found that actually language was really important. And now I'm, when I go to restaurants and I look at menus, I'm constantly kind of critiquing them for the language they use. But it's really interesting how powerful it is. And if you use terms that are about provenance, so where the dish is from or who influenced its development, or even the method of cooking, so slow roasted or glazed or marinated. So all those sort of words conjure images in the diner's mind, and that really helps to get over the kind of, is it gonna taste not as good as what I'd normally like, or is it not going to be really flavorful? So language is super important to really getting across that idea that this is going to be something you're going to love eating, that it's going to have loads of flavors there. And yeah, it was just amazing to realize how important it is to us.
I love that. And Chef, you were talking about that a little bit as well. And I saw you added something to the dish that that created quite an exciting visual. Can you tell us about what happened there?
Yeah, I wish I was over the flame so that I could have made it more of a show. But what I did was I just added in some red wine just to deglaze the bottom of the pan. So again, really getting that flavors from the bottom of the pan, really incorporating that into the stew, letting that reduce almost out until it was dry. And then what I did was I added in the tomatoes. I just did some crushed tomatoes and a little bit of vegetable stock. And then I'm just letting this really just kind of simmer down and letting that just cook those vegetables. I did add a little bit of salt and pepper too. And then what we're gonna do while that finishes, so I already cooked up some pasta, and so Cacciatore pasta, perfect, right? So I have some parsley, so I'm gonna add some parsley to the pasta, and then I'm gonna season the pasta with just a little bit of salt and black pepper. And we'll just give this a quick little toss, and then onto the plate, and then we'll be ready to plate up our Cacciatore. And what I love about this is that it's quick, and I love that it feels wholesome, it feels comfort foody, it feels, maybe a little indulgent, but it's flavorful, it's delicious, it's meant to eat well. And the aromas too are just incredible. All right, so that's
it looks beautiful, Chef.
So I'm just gonna add a little bit of basil, a little bit. And what I like about too adding fresh herbs at the end is that it really gives that freshness, that really nice light aroma and flavor at the end. And then we'll just spoon this right on over. And this is your Sweet Earth Mindful Chicken Cacciatore.
Looks great.
Looks absolutely delicious. I wish we were there in person.
I know what I'm having for lunch today, so.
Well, what about the rest of us? Well, I want to thank you, Logan and Gina and Edwina, so much for a wonderful presentation. And thank you to Nestlé Professional for this session. We are all headed back to the main stage now to learn strategies for accelerating change within your operations. Thank you again, everyone.